Hi, everyone. Today, I want to talk a little bit about my book. And I'm going to kind of walk through my book chapter by chapter. I'm only going to do one chapter per video and kind of a synopsis of what it was about and why I felt it was important. So, the first chapter in Perception is called There's No Power in Being a Victim. And I chose this first because I felt like if you can't get past being a victim, and I'll explain that in a second, you can't really get to anything else that is going to be meaningful in your life. So, I'll give you a little story of how I came to this revelation. About 12, 13 years ago, I went to get a life business certification for coaching. Went to the school, met with the owner, and he's trying to get to know me a little bit. And he says, "So, why do you want to do this?" So, I think I could really help people. And so he says, "Well, tell me a little bit about yourself." And I went right into the story that I have told everybody that ever met me up to that point about all the horrible things that had happened to me, all the deaths I had faced, my immediate family, my friends, and the really tough neighborhood I grew up in, Philly, and how difficult that was. And as I'm kind of maybe like a quarter through this story, he stops me and he says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, that's not what I asked you." And I was kind of taken aback a little bit and like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Who are you? And why do you want to do this?" And he said, "I want to know who you are." And so I thought for a second and I said, "Well, all those things." And he's like, "No, no, no." He's like, "Tell me who you are." And he kind of was being really tough about it. So I sat there for a minute and I really couldn't think of something to say to him. And I had this moment of like almost embarrassment that I didn't know who I was, because I realized without the story that I had been telling for all these years to represent what I was were just circumstances that I had encountered up to that point. And sure, they had an effect on who I was today. And sure, all those things that happen to you in life build the character and person you are over time, because we all face something different. But I was using that as who I was, and it's not who I am. And circumstance in your life is not who you are either. And it was really a difficult moment for me. And I felt, ashamed, and I kind of tried to muddle my way through it. And he said to me, this was on a Friday, and he said, "Why don't you go home and evaluate that?" And he said, "And come back and let me know, if who you really are is meant to do this." And he was saying it to kind of challenge me to dig deeper. And I left and I was really disappointed because I was ready to go. I was all in. And now he kind of had me take a step back. So now I get in the car and I'm an audiobook junkie. I listen to at least an audiobook a week. So I'm listening to this audiobook, and the author I just happened to catch him talking about, what's the worst movie you've ever seen? And so in my head, I'm playing along, right away I come up with a movie. And then he says, "Well, how many times did you rewatch that movie? How many times did you go back to the theater to see it? How many times did you rent it again?" And I'm kind of mystified. I'm like, why would I do that? It sucked. And he kind of pauses, and almost as he was talking to me, and he said, "Right, why would you do that?" He said, "So I want to ask you, why are you replaying all those horrible moments in your life over and over again? Why do you keep reliving that movie in your head all the time? And why do you keep letting it be a part of your life if the outcome and it sucks and it's not having a positive impact on your life? Why do you keep reviewing it?" And I really didn't have an answer there either. And I'm like, wow, in an hour of my life, all this kind of self-accountability came crashing back at me. And I really did take that weekend to think about who I was. And it was a great moment for me. As embarrassing as it was, it was also very revealing. And I realized that I was letting circumstance dictate to me. And circumstance was just circumstance. And it is for everybody. But you get a choice in every moment. Every decision you make is a choice. And if you choose this way or this way, whenever you're faced with a circumstance, you can victimize yourself, or you can be solutions oriented. You can look at it as a challenge, or you can look at it as demoralizing or defeating. But it's a choice you're making. And every choice since then, every circumstance I've faced, I have chose a solutions-oriented approach to it. And it really opened up my life, taking full accountability for everything that happened to me. Everything. Every choice I made put me where I was in that moment. When I got in a car accident, not a bad one, but it was a car accident. I didn't think I was at fault in the immediate moment, but when I pulled it back, I chose to go over to Home Depot at that time of day. I chose to take the road that I took. I made a lot of choices up to there, and I had to take accountability for me being in that moment at that time. And that's how serious I take accountability. I take it that far. Everything that happens to me happened because I made a choice at some point to be where I was in that moment. And even the things that I don't control, relative being ill, I can't control that, but I can control how I react to it. And if I react in a positive way, in a solutions-oriented way, in a caring way, you get all those choices instead of sulking or crying about it or using it to get empathy from people. Use it to build something from it. Use it to build your character. Use it to empower yourself. So that's kind of what chapter 1 is about in the book. And I think what I'd like you to just take from the book, and these are at the end of each chapter as kind of a synopsis, but there's no power in being a victim, as the title says. Circumstance is just that. You get a choice in every single circumstance. You should control your destiny. You should be able to make a choice in every circumstance you face to go one way or another. And having that control is very empowering. So I'd ask you to kind of step back. Who are you? I'll ask you. Who are you? Do you know who you are without all the past and all the circumstance? And once you realize that, then just face every circumstance from there on in with solutions-oriented approach and full accountability. And I think you'll see the change that I'm talking about for your life. So I want to thank you very much. If you get an opportunity, please pick my book up. It's on Amazon, any rental out there that rents books online, apps, all those things. It's on all those, Barnes & Noble, you can pick it up anywhere. So please continue to support me. I really appreciate it. I'm really passionate about getting this message out and helping as many people as I can. Thank you very much.